Tonight's homework is flipping the classroom, meaning I'm going to teach a lesson at night and you're going to take notes on it. And then tomorrow I'll assume that we all have a certain amount of knowledge, and then we'll practice it tomorrow. So CPCTC, we already have talked about what that means. CPCTC really stands for corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. It might seem obvious, but CPCTC. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Basically meaning that once you have proven one triangle is congruent to another through any of your methods, SAS, SSS, AAS, all of those, once you've proven it, that means that any of the sides or angles that you haven't talked about yet are now automatically congruent to each other if they're corresponding, because you've proven that the triangles are straight up twins. Once they're twins and everything's congruent, then all the parts are congruent. Because if you think about it, remember I always say you need 3 strikes? So let's just say we knew that, and we knew that. There's 6 parts of a triangle, but we only mark 3. We only need 3. But now that these triangles are congruent by side angle side, that now means all the other parts are congruent. The 3 that we didn't talk about are congruent. So that's congruent to that side's congruent to that, and that side is congruent to that. All because we've just proven the triangle's congruent using the other sides. Okay. I'm going to jump right down to number 1 here. Notice for the first time, the prove line does not say prove triangles congruent. That's how you know it's usually a CPCTC. Look at all of our old ones. It was always prove a triangle is congruent to another triangle, right? But now we're not doing that anymore. Well, we are, but they're not telling us to do it. Okay? So statement, reason, just like before. It gives us, 95% of this is no different than what we did today and yesterday. BC is congruent to DC. Both of those pieces of information are given. So we have parallel, which I like to make longer. And we also have that BC is congruent to DC. Now the parallel means that I'm going to have alternate interior angles at B and D. So I'm going to go ahead and say angle B is congruent to angle D because parallel lines lead to congruent angles. And you could do one of 2 things now. You could use the other transversal and say that these 2 angles are the same, or what most of you have decided, or at least decided today in class, was to just use the verticals in the middle, 1 and 2. So I'll do that. Angle 1 and angle 2 are congruent because vertical angles lead to congruence, and that is 3. So I must be done. Look at this. Ready? Angle, side, angle. So I have to name the triangles on my own because this isn't telling me what they are. So the triangles are going to be proven congruent. I'm going to call the first one ABC and the second one EDC. And we said it was angle, side, angle. Now that's where we used to be done. But now it wants us to go one step further. It wants us to prove that AC, which we have not talked about yet, is congruent to EC, which we have not talked about yet. But they are congruent because they're corresponding parts of already congruent triangles, which are congruent. So once we've proven the triangle's congruent, all of the other parts that are corresponding are also congruent. So this whole CPCTC thing, think of it as just one more step. when you're proving a side or an angle that we haven't talked about yet. So try number 2 here. Get the givens down. AC, EC, given, BC, DC, given. I'm going to mark my picture. AC, EC, BC, DC. And then that's all they told me, but I can see what's going on right here, right? Angle 1 and angle 2. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 2 because vertical angles lead to congruence. Now I have 1, 2, 3 congruences already. So the triangles are going to become congruent because of side, angle, side. So I'll name the first triangle ABC. And if I do that, then I have EDC, and we just said it was because of side, angle, side. Now that the triangles are congruent, all other corresponding parts, which we haven't talked about yet, we have not talked about angle B or D, but they're corresponding, so they are congruent. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. In other words, C, P, C, T, C. And that's where we'll pick up tomorrow.